My grandmother used to say, "Not every mango grows the same size, but they all sweet when ripe." I didn't understand what she meant until my second baby stayed stubbornly at the 5th percentile for 6 months straight, while my pediatrician kept pushing formula supplements. The truth is, those growth charts making you lose sleep might be telling the wrong story about your perfectly healthy child. So today, I'm walking you through the 4 essential strategies that help you know when low percentiles are normal versus when they're actually concerning. These 4 proven approaches are the family math method that puts percentiles in perspective, the 3 red flags that actually matter for growth concerns, the documentation strategy that transforms doctor visits, and the confidence blueprint that helps you advocate without apologizing. The first thing you should do is calculate your child's genetic potential. Remember when I mentioned my 5th percentile baby? Well, turns out I'm 5 feet 2 inches and my husband is 5 feet 6 inches. We're not exactly growing basketball players over here. Researchers found that 80% of height is genetically determined, which means if you're petite parents, your baby's low percentile might just be their genetic blueprint showing up early. Here's exactly how to do this. Step 1. Add mom's height and dad's height together. For boys, add 5 inches to that total, then divide by 2. For girls, subtract 5 inches from the total, then divide by 2. This gives you their predicted adult height. Now here's the powerful part. If that predicted height falls in a lower percentile on adult charts, guess what? Your baby's current low percentile is probably right on track. I remember calculating this for my daughter and realizing her predicted adult height put her at the 15th percentile. Suddenly, her 5th percentile baby weight made perfect sense. She was just finding her genetic path early. The relief I felt was incredible. But here's what really changed everything. Family genetics matter more than standardized charts because those charts were created from averages that might not represent your family's unique genetic makeup. My Caribbean family? We tend to be shorter with lighter builds. My husband's Filipino family? Same story. So when doctors compare our babies to charts that include families with completely different genetic backgrounds, of course, our babies look small. Now that you understand genetic potential, the second strategy is knowing the 3 red flags that actually signal concern. After researching obsessively when my daughter was labeled failure to thrive at 4 months, even though she was meeting every milestone, I learned that crossing 2 or more percentile lines is more concerning than being at a low percentile consistently. Here are the only 3 patterns that should worry you. Number 1, if your baby drops across 2 major percentile lines, like going from the 50th to below the 10th percentile. That's different from starting at the 5th and staying there. Number 2, if weight drops but height stays the same or keeps growing, this creates a concerning imbalance. Number 3, if head circumference growth slows significantly, as this could indicate inadequate nutrition affecting brain growth. Let me tell you what's not a red flag, despite what you might hear. A baby who stays consistently at the 3rd or 5th percentile, that's just their growth curve. A baby whose parents and siblings are also small, that's genetics doing its job. A baby who's alert, meeting milestones, and has good muscle tone, that's a healthy small baby. I'll never forget when a different pediatrician finally looked at my daughter's chart and said, "She's not falling off her curve. She's perfectly following her curve." It was like someone finally turned on the lights. She wasn't failing to thrive. She was thriving exactly as her genes intended. Your 3rd step is creating documentation that transforms how doctors see your child. This strategy literally changed our pediatric visits from stressful battles to productive conversations. You need what I call a growth story portfolio. And trust me, this works. Start by creating a simple chart. List every family member's height and weight, going back to grandparents if possible. Include siblings' growth patterns. When I showed our pediatrician that my mother-in-law is 4 feet 11 inches and my sister-in-law wore size 2T clothes until age 4, suddenly my daughter's size made sense in context. Next, document developmental wins. Every week, write down new skills, rolled over, sat up, first words, how many steps they took. Include videos on your phone. When doctors see a small baby army crawling at 6 months or saying 5 words at 10 months, it shifts the entire conversation from weight to development. But here's the game changer. Bring growth velocity calculations. Instead of just looking at percentiles, calculate how many ounces per week your baby gains. A normal growth rate means following their percentile line consistently, even if that line is the 3rd percentile. I started bringing a simple graph showing my daughter gained 3 to 4 ounces weekly, slow but steady. One pediatrician actually said, "I wish all parents brought data like this." Here's a mama who used this strategy. My son was 3rd percentile for weight, and every appointment felt like an interrogation. Once I started bringing family photos showing my husband at the same age, practically identical, tiny size, plus videos of my son climbing stairs at 11 months, the whole tone changed. Now they celebrate his development instead of obsessing over his weight. The 4th strategy is the confidence blueprint that helps you advocate without apologizing. This one took me the longest to master because, let's be honest, it's intimidating when medical professionals make you feel like you're failing your child. But research backs you up here. First, arm yourself with the right phrases. Instead of defensively saying, "He's just small," try, "His growth velocity is consistent with his genetic potential, and his development is on track." When pushed about supplements, say, "I'd like to see evidence that supplementation improves outcomes for babies following their genetic growth curve." These aren't aggressive, they're informed. When a doctor suggests intervention, ask these 3 questions. 1. Is my baby crossing percentile lines or staying consistent? 2. How does their growth compare to their genetic potential based on parental heights? 3. Are there any developmental concerns, or is this solely about percentiles? Remember, anywhere from the 5th to 95th percentile is considered normal range. Your 5th percentile baby is mathematically as normal as a 95th percentile baby. They're just on different ends of the normal spectrum. I learned to bring research to appointments. One study I shared showed that different combinations of genetic variants cause siblings to be different heights, explaining why my older child was 55th percentile while my younger stayed at 5th. Knowledge is power, and doctors respect parents who've done their homework. But here's what really builds confidence. Trust your instincts. You see your baby every day. You know if they're happy, active, meeting milestones. One mama told me, "My daughter was 2nd percentile until age 3. Every expert worried except me. I saw her energy, her brightness, her strength. Now she's 7, still petite, and the fastest runner in her class." The truth about percentiles finally clicked for me when I realized they're just statistical tools, not health report cards. Growth charts aren't intended as sole diagnostic instruments. They're one piece of a much bigger picture that includes genetics, development, and overall wellness. My 5th percentile baby? She's now a thriving, energetic 4-year-old who, yes, wears size 2T clothes still, but also speaks in full sentences, counts to 20, and has never met a playground she couldn't conquer. She's exactly who she was meant to be. Not too small, just genetically herself. Your baby's worth isn't measured in percentiles. their health isn't determined by how they compare to other babies. What matters is that they're growing steadily along their curve, developing on track, and thriving in their own unique way. You're not failing if your baby is small. You're succeeding by advocating for their individual growth pattern and refusing to let standardized charts override your parental instincts and your family's genetic reality. If you're ready to approach growth charts with confidence instead of anxiety, I've created a comprehensive guide that includes the exact documentation templates I use, scripts for pediatric visits, and a growth velocity calculator. It's called the Small Baby Advocacy Toolkit, and it's helped hundreds of parents transform stressful weigh-ins into empowering health discussions. The link is right below this video, because every baby deserves to be celebrated for who they are, not measured against who they're not.